Here are some reasons we'll go over: 12-bit B-RAW and Blackmagic color science, anamorphics, 6K open gate, OLPF, full frame L-mount, and 5-inch monitor. The list is peculiar, I know. As 2023, camera companies progress forward to compete for your attention, yet this one seems to just move sideways. Is this a good buy in 2023? Is it worth $2,500? Already own an A7 IV? Honestly, the nature of questions like these should be ask me in 2 years or when I log hundreds of hours. That's what I'll be trying to do now, putting miles on this thing. But there are technical reasons, and then there are, let's call them contextual reasons, which are situational for me and might be situational to you. Let's start with the technicals. B-RAW is likely the biggest reason I can find for anyone to dedicate themselves to Blackmagic. Do like I did and download B-RAW clips from Blackmagic's website and mess around with them yourselves. It's 12-bit and RAW. The A7 IV S-Log3 is 10-bit 422 and not bad but not close to B-RAW. The contextual reasons. My recent bias since switching to Resolve has been color grading, more particularly organic-ish, filmish, softish style. I've taken a full head-first dive into the colorist realm, so of course I'm looking across the camera spectrum for 16-bit 444 type specs, but that's where I found that my Sony's 10-bit 422 wasn't cutting it. I found the limits that I didn't think I'd find. B-RAW gives me a higher pay grade color capability without paying for it. Don't just take my word for it.
Now, my initial reaction to the footage itself is that the Blackmagic holds up super well to the red, and given the price difference, that's really quite impressive.
All of that footage is pretty much straight out of camera, just contrast, saturation, and my preset. That's it. That's how nice the colors are straight out of camera, which is really impressive.
That's the one thing I've noticed about the Blackmagic color space is it matches Alexa's color space, in my opinion, very closely.
In addition to that, Blackmagic have also tweaked their already impressive color science a little bit more. We've got even better colors, and the contrast straight out of the camera is just nailed in this camera.
But if you want that super powerful raw codec and just this image, look how nice it looks, right? Blackmagic's done really well with their color science. I think Blackmagic might have one of my favorite color sciences. Science. I think it looks really cinematic.
Either my feed is being curated to show me anamorphic content or it's the trend right now, but the sensor allows for true 6:5 anamorphic without cropping. With this 6:5 uncropped with a 2x scope, it translates perfectly to cinema scope. Contextually, this doesn't apply to me much because I haven't yet suffered from cropped anamorphics. But now I can rest knowing that I will continue to not suffer. I don't have an anamorphic right now, but I will eventually. This means you'll be using the whole sensor. No crop, no waste. Everyone should want to use the whole sensor rather than the camera choosing to crop into an aspect ratio that doesn't fit the sensor. Coming from a Sony, open gate is welcomed by many. Even the FX3 doesn't have open gate, and that's $1,500 more. If you don't have a camera with a low pass filter, you might not notice what it does for most of your shoots. But then there will be those couple occasions where moire just ruins everything. Here's a couple examples that you need an OLPF for. As far as I can find, I'm not finding any Sony cameras with an OLPF, at least for the ones that I'll own in my lifetime. The previous generation was micro four thirds. This is full frame. Larger sensor will mean better low light naturally. It doesn't mean better quality or anything. For example, the Arri Alexa 35 is a Super 35, and clearly that doesn't stop the technical quality that is capable. I'm used to full frame, which is nice. I won't need to mentally convert lens focal lengths. I see people profess love for L-mount, but I come from E-mount, where there's no adapter. This was the largest holdback for sure. I really didn't want to reinvest into glass, so I found the cheapest L-mount cinema lens to get me started. You can't talk about one without the other. Technically speaking, the 5-inch screen is great. It's plenty bright. Has all the cinema camera features you need it to have, like false color, LUTs, touchscreen, zebra, focus peaking, most notably simplicity. This monitor as a separate unit would be $500. Yeah, it doesn't flip out, but what cinema camera these days even comes with a monitor? Maybe you can convince Tilta to bring this product back, or someone will make a new one. We all know the Sony menu system has had a profitable overhaul, yet still this new menu gives you what you need. You have to experience it. It's honestly undervalued, despite everyone's praise. I have the Atomos Shinobi, and this screen with the buttons on the body just makes things easy. Turns out, when you don't have all the junk features that you don't use, the menu can be straightforward, saving you time. I compare this camera to the A7IV because I have experience with that camera, and it's on the same price bracket. Comparisons become a little more nuanced when the prices are too different. For me, I made it a little simpler for myself. If the FX3 were $1,500 cheaper, I would still prefer the quality of B-RAW. It's hard to compare a $6,000 FX6 or $6,000 Komodo because you begin paying for features that Blackmagic clearly doesn't prioritize. Blackmagic seems to prioritize image quality. For now, I'm excited to do the same. Perhaps in 3 years my breaking point is frame rates, or I get so tired of ND filters. All these are also reasons to have more than one camera. Let's zoom out to the big picture. The Sony A7IV is spread. Not even spread thin, it excels in many use cases. The cinema camera has quite the depth in one area, and for my use case, with the Sony in hand, I bought it for this specific depth. But to maximize the gear, you do need to understand it. There is a huge freedom the Sony gives. It's small, its focus is the best, out of the box, hybrid everything. All the possibilities, it's hard to pick them. I think the restrictions the cinema camera gives me forces me to be a little more creative, slow things down, and be intentional.